Ready? All right, my friends, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I like the enthusiasm. All right, very good. All right, so we're going to start with a roll call, please.
Present.
Present. Here.
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 All right, Pastor Mitzi's here. She's going to open us up in a prayer.
On behalf of the residents of Lockport, we lift up to you the hearts that are saddened by his passing. We think of and pray for his wife and family tonight. Would you bring them comfort through the next several difficult days and the strength to go on? As the council moves ahead with the business of running the city, please give them wisdom, foresight, understanding, and unity in all they deliberate and consider tonight. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Mitzi. And just to expand on our colleague Pat, I mean, he wasn't just a colleague; he was a friend to all of us. And Pat was a guy I had no problem confiding in, and speaking honestly and getting his opinion, because he was that. He was a friend, and his wife was the same way. You could go to Joe and have a deep conversation about things you were struggling with, decisions you had to make, and they were always there and always very thoughtful. And I always appreciated Pat. He used to, always like, well, I got more questions, and he used to feel like that was a bad thing, but I would always have to tell him, like, Pat, that's the job. It's okay. You can ask questions all night if that's why you're here, and I appreciate that you ask good, thoughtful questions. There's good questions, and there's sometimes questions that go off the rails, but that wasn't Pat. He was always very thoughtful and methodical, and he will be greatly missed by all of us, I know. And it was when he was sick, but it was still a bit of a surprise. So. Echoing Mitzi, all blessings to his family and comfort, and he will be missed. I know, we can move forward with the business at hand, as I know Pat would want us to do so. I mean, liaison reports. I don't know if we have anything going on. Susie?
Yes, I have some for special events. On Saturday, November 29th, we will have a few events, but the first is our annual Christmas in the Square. It will be from 1 till 5 p.m. It'll include a tree lighting, Santa Claus, who will be in the library, and lots of family fun. There are already over 3,200 that are interested that were on Facebook, so we expect to have a big crowd there. And thank you to White Oak Library for collaborating with us this year. New sponsor for Santa this year is M&I Homes. So there'll also be on that same day, November 29th, the Festival of Trees at the Gladys Fox Museum, hosted by the Lockport Park District, and Small Business Saturday, promoted by the Lockport Chamber of Commerce. And last but not least, the movie night at the Roxy will be the Muppet Christmas Carol, and it's sold out already. The next event will be on Saturday, December 6th. We'll have the State Street Mistletoe Market at the Metra parking lot from 11 till 5 p.m., and that will be in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce. This will be a preview to the new farmers market launching in May, and over 1,600 people have expressed interest on Facebook. That same day, we'll have the Lockport Annual Cookie Walk from 11:30 to 3:30, and it's sold out. 400 tickets were purchased in 50 minutes, and we still have 126 people on the wait list for that. So it's a very popular event for our city. And last but not least, for December 6th is the Jingle Bell Jam at Delwood Park. It will be from 4:30 to 6:30, and it's hosted by the Lockport Park District. And the last event for special events is movie night at the Roxy Theater. On Sunday, December 14th, we'll have a double feature, and tickets are on sale now. At 3 o'clock, there will be the Polar Express. And then at 7 o'clock p.m., it will be the seasonal classic, the Holiday Inn. And that's all I have.
Right on. Thank you, Susie. Appreciate it. Anything else going down the line?
Just a reminder, leaf pickup will continue until the first week of December. So we'll go 1 week after next, which is Thanksgiving. That coincides with Waste Management, who also does their yard waste pickup through the first week of December as well. So just a reminder, leaf pickup through first week of December. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, man. Anybody got anything else?
Property beautification contest. It had started on October 1st, and it's going to go till December 31st, excuse me, with a February 4th recognition. We will recognize everyone that has put in their application to be recognized, and then we will have a first, second, and third winner, and they will get a little extra bonus if they come in first, second, and third. So we encourage everyone to take pictures of your homes if you have decorated them for the season, and we're glad and honored to recognize you at our meeting. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. So, a couple kind of fun things tonight. First is congratulating the junior porters on their state championship. Very exciting. So Heather, a friend of mine, she called out and says, "Hey, Mayor, can we have the junior porters come in?" And I said, "Absolutely." So Heather and coaches, come on up to the podium, please. Well done, congratulations. Hey everybody, congratulations. So I have some certificates, and I think maybe the best thing to do is we're going to have the coach just kind of give us a quick lowdown on the season and any cool highlights you want to share about the team.
Sure.
And then we'll hand out the certificates.
Sure. So this is our 8U team. It's our youngest team with Lockport. Besides flag football, we're the youngest tackle league. These boys played their butts off. We started out rough. We started out losing our first 2 games. Then we tied. So we started the season 0-2-1, and then these boys put it all together. Won 5 in a row to finish out the regular season, and then just kicked butt all the way through the playoffs, including a state championship against Joliet, and we won 24-6.
We'll just put it way up there for everybody to see. How exciting. Happy too, man. Well, thank you for that honor of letting me hold that. You know what, coaches, if you could do me the favor, if you can run through the certificate names, because I hate butchering people's names.
No problem.
All right, so.
All right, the first one is our middle linebacker and fullback, Coles in.
Coles in. Congratulations.
couple boys did make it. So I'll get them to them later. Our starting safety, Jake. Our right tackle, JJ. Our safety and corner, Brooks.
What is that, your Super Bowl rings?
That's the rings they won. Yes, sir.
I didn't even know that.
Our starting linebacker and starting tailback, Jack Randolph. Starting guard, Wes. Starting tackle, offensive and defensive, Austin Oki. Our starting center, and the boy who went 3 for 3, the Pop Warner people put in the lead. He made 3 field goals, or 3 extra points for the championship game. Alex. Starting defensive tackle, Donnell. Pete. Our tight end and punter, luckily we didn't have to use him once in the playoffs, Grant. Our guard, Danny. Starting defensive tackle, Cam. My son, our starting wide receiver and middle linebacker, Johnny. Safety, Willie. And our starting QB, Beckett.
Well done. Can we get like a picture of you guys all turn around and face Lisa? Or no, let's get in front of the, we'll get by the count. Danny Carter, your shirt down so we can see your face. Very good, you guys. And big thanks to the parents and how much of a sacrifice it is running kids all the time. You had some football caps that were really good. Oh, thank you. Like, so, yeah, it's one of the time. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out and honoring us. Gentlemen, what do you say? And then another fun thing, you guys should hang just for this next one if you don't mind. And then you guys can split after that. But it's our hero banners. As you guys may have seen when you drive through Lockport along State Street and 9th Street and a couple of the side streets, we have banners of our veterans. Some are active duty and some are from past wars. Some have medal recipients, Purple Hearts, all sorts of some KIAs. But it has been a real blessing. So Karen, Jack, come on up here. Wendy, come on down. You know, all this kind of came out of a chance meeting that we had with Wendy and Karen like a few years back. And it was at an essay contest, right, Wendy?
It is. In fact, that essay contest is going on right now, and the VFW proudly sponsors an opportunity for middle school and high school students to write about what patriotism means to them. In fact, we had several submissions from Romeoville High School, so we are very excited about that, but very proud to participate.
Wendy teaches there, so she's got to drum up.
Sorry, but I'm also on the Lockport High School board, so
Yeah,
don't
there.
tell them. But we also are here to let you guys know, and the VFW already received their check, but we were able to raise with the banner program this year $4,119.68. That's the most money that we've made so far, and we are thrilled to be able to donate that amount of money back to the VFW, and even more, I think more proud to be able to display our Lockport men and women who have fought, have stepped up and have done their patriotic duty, and we are so grateful that we can share in their lives and be reminded of each one of them by having their banners downtown and for everybody to see them, because more than Lockport sees those banners, I hear it from cities all over the place. In fact, many cities have worked with us so that they too can have banner program just like us. So I think that's a testament to everything that the VFW has done here in Lockport with us and working with this city of Lockport. So thank you very, very much.
I do want to thank everyone on this board, Mayor, Wendy, Lynn, for helping us doing this. You have no idea what we have done for the families of their heroes. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, if you do a couple more slides forward, because there is, the program starts up again in January, so it's like a.
Yeah, we should mention that for next year, if you guys are interested, please keep it on the forefront of your mind. If you have missed out on this opportunity, you'll have another opportunity in the future coming up. We'd love to work with you, and we'd love to put up your loved one.
All right, everyone. That's all kind of the exciting stuff. So I always say we won't be offended if you guys all try to make an exit. You don't have to, but we won't be offended if you do. No, it's all right. Yeah. Did they really? That's outstanding. All right, friends, that was fun. Coach was just saying, like, some of the guys on the high school football team, which is, this close to winning state now, they won their state championship when they were on. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, my friends, so moving on with things, we're looking for a motion to have a consent agenda tonight. All right,
Second.
Christina and Joanne. All right, so tonight we're looking for approval for our regular city council meeting minutes from November 5th, our committee of the whole meeting minutes from November 5th, our payroll period ending October 26th and November 9th, the 2026 annual schedule for all our meetings and committees, Resolution 25080, which is a release of a bond of site improvements for land works. There's Resolution 25081, which is also a release of bond for Redwood Phase 1. And then 25082, a release of bond for the 923 State Street mixed-use building. So, looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Susie King,
Second.
second by Jonathan Pugh. All in favor? Well, I guess we need a roll call. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Here.
All right. First action item tonight is we're looking for a motion to approve a Resolution 25086, which is a lease agreement for use of a portion of the Central Square building for the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So move.
Darren, JR, was there any further concerns or things that anybody wanted to bring up on this?
Mayor, we did make the adjustments to change that to a 2-year term, not a 5-year term, and all the documents have been updated for that.
Okay. Is everybody satisfied then? Okay. Then we'll do a roll call, please.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
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 Yes?
Aye.
Okay, next we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 25096, which is authorizing the expenditure of funds for the City of Lockport for a local match for 171 New Avenue intersection improvements. Cost not to exceed $3 million if the 80/20 Will County Governmental League Surface Transportation Program is granted the award. So we're looking for a motion to approve this.
Second.
JR and Darren. Any thoughts, concerns, updates you need?
This is just kind of a housekeeping. We've have applied for this grant a couple times in the past. We have to pass a resolution saying if we're awarded the grant that we would continue with the program. The commitment to the city, if it's as much as $3 million, would be $600,000. We believe it'll be less than that, but it could be $400,000 or $500,000 for us if we end up getting the award. Probably wouldn't be done until 28 or 29. A big factor would be that we really would like this intersection more efficient and safer before the high-level bridge is out in 2030, because all the traffic is going to be going through there north to 135th. So we're in phase 2 in engineering, and we should hopefully score well. We were this close to getting the award last time. We were on the contingency list for the STP program with Will County Government League, so we're hopeful. Brian and I are actually going to be meeting with IDOT in the next couple of weeks to remind them about this one and talk about the importance with the Illinois 7 bridge. So,
Okay. All right, thank you. There's nothing else? We can do a roll call then.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
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 Yes?
Aye.
All right, next we're looking for a motion to approve our bills through November 11th. Now you want to pay the bills? Christina, yeah?
Second.
Susie? Any questions, concerns? We'll do a roll call then?
Yes.
Aye. I abstain. The city of Lockport is paying my employer for some water fittings.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Aye.
All right, next we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 25091, which is a sidewalk cutting project to Safe Step, not to exceed $59,955.12. Looking for a motion to approve.
So move.
Darren,
Second.
seconded by Jonathan. Any questions on this one? No. We'll do a roll call, please.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
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 Yes?
Aye.
All right, next we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 25087, which is award the spoil hauling services to Austin Tyler for $52,200. Looking for a motion on this. JR,
Second.
seconded by Susie. All in favor of approving, we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
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 Aye.
All right, and next we're looking for a motion to approve Resolution 25088, which is award the disposal of biosolids to New Era Spreading Inc. from January 1st, 2026 to December to 27, estimated total amount of $135,000. Looking for that motion for approval. JR,
Second.
seconded by Jonathan. Any questions about spreading? All right, then we'll do a roll call, please.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
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 Yes?
Aye.
All right. Very good. So now we come up to our public hearing for budget time. Let me jump ahead here.
Mayor, there's a memo on your,
Yep, I absolutely have it. Thank you. I was just getting to my packet paper here. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to open our public hearing for our budget.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Susie and JR. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this public hearing is being held pursuant to Illinois law to hear discussion and public comment on the proposed budget for the coming fiscal year, which has been on display for the requisite length of time. So asking Lisa to review the highlights of the budget. So, please.
yes, thank you, Mayor. Notice was placed in the newspaper on November 8th to notify the public of the public hearing. And I'll just do a quick summary again of the budget. Revenues of $92 million, expense of $94 million, use of excess reserves $2.8 million, surplus in the budget of $901,300. And a quick little summary of our citywide budgeted revenues. 21% of the revenues make up water and sewer revenue. State and local taxes 24%. Real estate taxes 10%. Grants and donations 7%. And development fees 1%. We also have an IEPA loan of $29 million to help us to fund the wastewater treatment plant. Expenses categorized in 5 major categories. $94 million, 57% makes up our capital construction and equipment, lots of infrastructure next year. Payroll and related expenses of 15%, contractual and professional fees of 17%, building and equipment maintenance 3%, and debt payments of 2%.
Right. There's the summary. Thank you, Lisa. I know it's a lot more than just those that summary, but we appreciate it. So as far as the public hearing goes, does anyone in the audience have any questions about the public hearing? It's open. Okay. If there's no other persons from the public that want to make comment, then I will get a motion to close the public hearing.
Make that motion.
Darren? Second by JR. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It still has opportunities for any of us to talk about the budget if we want to, but and when we vote on it in 2 weeks, is it? Okay. So after public hearings, there's always time for councils. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns on the budget?
I have a question. Not knowing if this is the appropriate time, I had, proposed looking at, what the Texas was, what we were going to do for the new property. So I asked Lisa to run a couple of numbers from the perspective of if we stayed flat to the next year. In other words, not raising taxes. And what would it look like if we didn't accept the taxes on the new property? So there were several scenarios that we ran through. But one in particular that I thought made some sense from a tax perspective was keeping the revenue flat and not accepting the new property as they come on the roll. And one of the reasons that I thought I'd like to see how this would impact the budget was with all the new construction we had going on, with all of the things, for the past several years, and, we even talked about it in meetings past, we've been playing a lot of catch up. And I thought this might be a good time, especially with the new development that we know is going to be coming down the pipeline, if we take a little pause and just freeze our portion of the taxes for 1 year. Looking at what the impacts are, especially with the surplus, I think it's something that's very, very doable and wouldn't impact the budget as presented. So that's what I'd like consideration for.
Can I ask a few questions, just so I kind of make sure we all understand how it works. So when new growth happens in a city, and then we could say, we want to capture that new growth. So in other words, if there's the city brings in $1 million and then $200,000 of, projects went in, new building, that adds to that $1 million. that extra 200,000, how does that capture work? Like, it's like you have a year to capture. Can you explain a little bit more as we fully
Yeah,
can wrap
you
our
bet.
head around it?
So what will end up happening is we would still get all those new properties would still get a tax bill whether or not we said we wanted to collect that revenue. So they will still get their assessed value, they will still get their tax bill. What will happen is everybody else's tax bill would go down for the amount that we've picked up from all of them. So if we leave our levy flat, because that's, in a sense, the presentation I'm going to do in Committee of the Whole is
Yeah.
going to talk through the property tax levy and how that levy works. So when you do the levy, you set the dollar amount with the levy. So I'm asking you guys to pass a levy of $8 million. Last year, we had $7.8 million. So if you wanted to stay flat, we would pass a levy of $7.8 million, not the levy that is being proposed at $8 million. Okay? So if we do that, then that tax rate that is generated from that levy amount then gets allocated to everybody's assessed value. Okay? So if you're bringing on new bills, those bills have never been there before and they've never had a tax bill, or they had a very minor one because it was vacant land, then it would be lowering everybody else's in town by $10, $20, whatever the case may be.
All right.
Because
So,
it's basically,
so maybe the best way to do this discussion then, Steve, it sounds like, is maybe we talk about during the levy. So what you're saying is, your thoughts are, if we were to keep it flat, it wouldn't affect the budget. Nothing changes out of this, just the surplus. Okay. So then, this is really a levy question. So then maybe we'll bring it up during the levy question. Okay, that sounds good. All right. So then, if there's nothing else in our city council meeting, then look for a motion to adjourn. Okay, Joanne and Steve, all in favor?
All right.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I kept trying to decide if I could win a football game against all those kids by myself. No? You think they would just like ants? Yeah. Yeah, all good then? Yes, roll call, please.
Present.
Present. Here.
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 Here?
Here.
All right, so first thing on the agenda is AT1, ordinance 25020. Mike, what do you got?
So as you're aware, we've been holding conversations since I started back in April with the two sanitary districts of the unincorporated areas of the city, both Lockport Heights Sanitary District and Bonnie Bray Sanitary District, both of which have an intergovernmental agreement with the city that expires in 2030. So we've been having, larger scale conversations about what this is going to look like after that. The intergovernmental agreement we have with Lockport Heights requires them, upon the removal of the water treatment plant that used to be on their property, for them that they shall sell that property, meaning they must sell the property. Well, 15 years later, the property still hasn't been sold, so we engaged in conversations with them, and they have agreed to sell us their land in exchange for our promise to treat the residents of the Lockport Heights Sanitary District as city residents as far as billing goes. So right now, the intergovernmental agreement we have with them requires us to charge them the same amount, and that would be the agreement in perpetuity, that while we continue to treat the water, provide the water, we would treat them the same as city residents as far as rates go and not charge them non-resident rates. Secondly, we would agree not to force annex any of the property that's in that area. And I think, Brian, we cut a little exception out for anything that's along the roadway along Archer, correct? Yeah. So in case there's a road project or something where we needed to take some of the right-of-way or whatever, we did allow provision for that. So at their last board meeting, the Lockport Heights Sanitary District Board voted to approve the sale of that property to the city. You'll see that as our second item under the city administration piece. But by state statute, in order to get around having to do put out a bid when one governmental unit's selling a piece of property, they can sell to another governmental unit. So as long as the receiving governmental unit, in this case the city, has an ordinance that declares the necessity to get that property and use it for public use. We did dismantle the treatment plant some 15 years or so ago, and there's a lift station on there now, and we will continue to operate that property in keeping with the water and wastewater uses we've been using it for altogether. It's just that we anticipate at some point in time that sanitary district going away. Our agreement with them expires in 5 years, so we would just need the city council to declare the public necessity of obtaining this property for public use. And that's what this is about.
All right. Well, yeah, please, fire away.
He's going to purchase. Does that automatically become annexed into the city of Lockport?
That would be my next step post-closing. So it's not as difficult as if you're trying to force annex something.
Right.
It's a lot easier. It's just by way of ordinance, and we can take care of that with, we'll have notice to the property owners right near there, and obviously their board knows about it. Their board will continue to exist for the time being. We've talked about what it might look like through the legislature in Springfield to allow that district to dissolve everything for them.
Okay. Right.
Surveyors were out there, doing survey work. Title's supposed to be coming to me tomorrow, so this is something that we're going to be able to close within the next 2 years.
I'm sorry, did the price of the land?
It's in the next item.
Oh, okay.
All right, so this is just declaring the necessity to obtain real property is all this is about.
That's all it's about.
Okay, so do we, are we good, like, putting this on consent?
Yes.
Okay. All right, which then lets us roll into the CA1 for,
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mike, and I want to thank Mike and Brian for their efforts in helping me with the sanitary district. We've been working with them for months on this. This purchase sales agreement, Resolution 25095, would allow us to actually acquire the 10 acres for $300,000. We had a CBRE do a valuation for it, and that's what it was appraised at. Future annexation and zoning will be similar to what it's surrounded by now, which is industrial. There's a good map here about where these 10 acres are, just north of my house, actually, right next to one of the Prologis buildings. And so our future use for it is pretty much you have to maintain and operate a lift station there. Could we add potentially a city facility or something like that there? For sure. Not all of it is usable. There's some wetlands in the back, but at the end of the day, we're going to do this. We'd like to do this purchase sales agreement for $300,000. What the sanitary district will do with the $300,000 is they are required in this agreement to put it back into the system. They will be fixing and/or replacing water mains to help connect the neighborhoods, which are all the city of Lockport systems. So it's a good use of the dollars. And again, we're adhering to the spirit of the intergovernment agreement from 2000, which says they shall sell. It didn't say who to sell to, but we're making the effort here to make sure that it's held by us because we own and maintain the lift station on property we want to own. So at the end of the day, this would be coming out of, we have reserves in the water fund to afford this yet this year if we can close in the next few weeks with your consent.
okay. Well, I know a lot of work has gone into this, and Darren, you put a lot of effort, thoughts into this as well. So any questions? We good with this purchase price for consent?
I can just say, I started working on this probably around 2015. So government moves slow sometimes. I would have resolved it 10 years ago.
Both those items can be consent with your.
Yep, so consent is good? All right.
Thank
Next is F&1, ordinance 2501. So here's our, talking about our levy and assessing of the taxes. So did you want to lead into it at all, Lisa?
Yeah. So I want to kind of work through some of these slides here, but please If you need more detail on anything that I'm talking about and you want to expand upon it, feel free to stop me at any point.
Okay. Oh, hey, man, forgive me for 1 second. I forgot to call for an executive session after this for, is that all right? All right, sorry. Yeah, it's for the land acquisition thing. Sorry. I know usually we do that like in the beginning here, and I forgot to do it. Yeah, under 2C5. So looking to do an executive session here at the end for that. So give you guys some updates on some stuff. Okay. Sorry, Lisa, I didn't mean
Yeah,
to.
no problem. So I like to show how a property tax bill is divided, and I just picked one particular area because we have a number of different tax rates in the city depending on which school district you're in and which fire district you're in. But I picked one that's in Lockport Township. Excuse me. You'll see that the schools make up over 64%, so they are the largest part of the tax bill. The fire district is about 11.8%, Will County 6.9%, and Lockport, we're 7.6%. So we're a pretty small portion of the tax bill. I'd like to then move on to talk about the 2026 revenue breakdown, and you can see that taxes make up 30% of the general fund's revenue. And we talked about this under budget 2 weeks ago, but just as a reminder that 30% of our revenue comes from real estate taxes. All right, so this is starting to talk about how the levy actually is created. So the assessed value is where it all begins. Each property is assessed a value by the township that they're in. And then the CPI is determined by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, so that comes from the feds. Then we, here at City Council, we propose a tax levy. It gets reviewed where we're at right now at the Committee of the Whole. We would do a public hearing if it was necessary, and when it's necessary is if we're increasing our property tax levy by more than 5% of the prior year's levy, except for debt. You'd remove the debt. We don't do that. We're not proposing that, so we will not need a public hearing this year. We will look for council to approve this at the first meeting in December, and then we will file this with the county by the deadline, which is the fourth Tuesday of December. Okay, so I always like to remind council that we're working with estimates. We don't always know the figures, and we won't know the figures until the springtime. So we have estimates for the EAV, for new property, for any tax exemptions. There are still things that can happen prior to the springtime when we get what the county is the final rate, the final EAV, which then determines how much our levy is going to be. So many communities will overextend their levy just to make sure that all the new growth is captured. And one thing that I wanted to mention about the new growth that we started to talk about under the city council meeting is if you don't take the new growth, you lose it forever. And by lose it forever, I mean that every year when you're looking to move your tax levy and increasing it, you're increasing it by a lower amount. Okay, so it's a compounding effect. So if you choose to do that, and you have every right to do so, but it is a compounding effect. So if I take $1 million and I increase it by the CPI, I would have $1 million times 3%. But if I don't take that new property, which was $100,000, I would not be able to increase my levy the next year by the CPI on the 1.1 million. I would only be increasing it on the 1 million. Okay, so when you hear that, I know that's been said multiple times, is if you don't take it, you would lose it forever, and that's really it. It's that compounding effect. That means that you're lowering everybody else's tax bill for 1 year, but then every single year after that, you're not increasing your levy by that higher dollar amount. You're increasing it by the lower amount. Okay, so anyway, we'll keep moving on from there. So the new growth that is estimated right now from the county is $14 million. And that new growth came from Oak Valley. We had a new subdivision. The Port Apartments, we had that come on this year. Panda Express, Scooters, Seven Brew. The Springs of Lockport, I think, had maybe one building it looked like actually met the deadline. So that new growth comes out to $92,000. That's what it turns into for our tax levy, is that new growth gave us $92,000. Remember, we're a very small portion of all the tax bills. Okay? Any questions up to this point?
When in the spring, is there a set date that the county always does it, or is it just the spring? Do they have a date?
I'm starting to bother them by the end, by the end of March. So usually by the end of March, we start to see those numbers coming in. It's not always set because they have a lot that they need to do to get those numbers all rolled out to everybody. So usually around the end of March, beginning of April is when they'll give us all that information and we have to sign off on whether or not that's what we want to propose or we want to make any changes.
Okay, and I ask it in this question, because I think, as a council, we've done, we've always had a mindset to lower the rate every year, and I think we've done, we've done that, a 10-year streak of lowering the rate.
Yeah, a lot.
And our goal has always been to do that. In an ideal world, does that mean if I'm paying $10,000 a year in property tax that, it stays at 10,000? That would be nice. But one of the things we always struggle with is that even if we lower our rate to keep it level, because we captured new growth and now new people are adding into that pie, so we can, the struggle always comes with the township assessing our houses higher, and then that's out of our control. So all of a sudden, we may have lowered the rate, even maybe we could have lowered it lower perhaps, but the wild card is the assessment, right? So let me, so if there's a goal, I like Steve's idea. Can we do a year where it's zero, we don't get an extra $30 tacked on? I like it, but I'm trying to understand how possible it is, if it is, right, to do that. Because if this estimate of $92,000 in growth is an estimate, and they come out in the spring, is there still time to adjust the rate at that time, or are we set with the levy rate now?
No.
And so, or is there time to adjust it and say, hey, you know what, it turns out new growth is actually 105,000 or it's 68,000, we can adjust the rate a little bit so that we don't end up saying, looks like we all got pinched by an extra $100 this year because the estimate was off.
Yeah, you can always take less. So when we turn in the levy of $8 million to the county, that is the max that we can take. We cannot ask for more once we get all of the real numbers, which is why most municipalities, they ask for more. But once you get that rate, we do have the ability to go back and lower that tax rate, which will then decrease the amount of revenue that we get.
Okay.
Okay? So we have that ability. What I don't know is whether that time frame is a week, 10 days, and whether it falls within a council meeting. So if you want to bring this back to council, or you want to set parameters around that, so that we can meet the deadlines that we have to meet to be able to achieve, to get our revenue that we need, you could set those parameters saying, okay, well, here, your tax levy is $8,096,000, but here's the tax rate. We only want the rate to be here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and give me parameters so that you give me the authority to move within those parameters. If not, we could do a special meeting and bring it back to council and have everybody vote on it, because it is a very short time frame
Okay.
to be able to do it.
So
So we can,
just chime in though, and she said this earlier, we don't know when we're going to get the information. Lisa and I have been together here for 10 years. There's been times when we got it and we have a day.
Yeah.
We have to get back to them the next day. There's
Yeah.
been times where we have a week. So the fact that it would align to come back to the council, I think, is kind of putting ourselves in a shoebox that we don't want.
Yeah.
So if we can just kind of deliberate
Yeah.
how we
I
have
got
it.
you. So that's always been the challenge, right?
Right.
We just don't know what we're going to get.
Right.
We don't know when we're going to get notified of what we're going to get either.
But if I hear you right, one option, I'm going to say this back so I make sure I understand it, is that we could pre-authorize you to do some maneuvering without the council. So we know we're not going to take more than 92,000, right? And we're allowed to adjust lower. So we could pre-approve you and say, Lisa, you can go down to this, and that way we don't have a special meeting. So that is an
Right,
option.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Within the parameters, before we pass the levy, you can give those parameters to me, and then we know what we need to do to move forward.
Okay, all right. So I'm just trying to understand our options. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Okay. So I'll keep moving on here, and then we can go back and address some more questions, because I think I have a couple of slides on the things that you were talking about. So these are the areas that the tax levy funds. We have general corporate, police department, EMA, the police, IMRF, Social Security, all the different pensions that we have in the city, liability insurance, audit, street lighting, The new one that we've added over the last couple of years is stormwater, so that we can address some of the stormwater issues that we've been encountering. And then, of course, any debt payments that are paid with property tax dollars. We do have some other debt that is paid through with water and sewer dollars or alternative revenue bonds. But anything that's with property tax would come out of here too. Okay, so the estimated assessed value is where it all starts, right? That's the figure that we get once we know what that is, and it's 106.9 million, and you can see that it's increased over the last 11 years. So you multiply that assessed value times the tax rate, and that's where we get to the levy, okay? So you can see that the assessed value continues to increase. This year in Homer Township, in generalities, not every property is like this, but in generalities, the majority of the houses in Homer Township received an 8% increase to their EAV. In Lockport Township, they received a 7% increase. Those are still pretty substantial increases to see year after year after year. And you can see our EAV continues to climb. It's not just from new property. It's also because the houses that we have are increasing in values. The next one actually goes through the rates.
Real quick, on that,
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
second
yeah.
slide, that's not just the increase in values of properties, that's the additional properties that come on as well.
Both are included, yes, yes. So it's the increase and any new property. So, yes, 11 years of increases in EAV, which then gives us the ability to lower our tax rate. And we've lowered our tax rate by 11 years. So you could see back on there, and some of those older years where it was even higher have fallen off now. So you don't even get the advantage of seeing all those years. But we've done a tremendous job of lowering the tax rate, and that is what we control, right? We control what the tax rate is. When you multiply that tax rate by the EAV, you'll see that. So the way I prepared this levy was the way we've done it over the last few years, which is to include CPI, which is 2.9%, capture the $14 million of estimated new property. Those two things achieve $280,000 of new revenue that would just get split out between those new properties and the rest of the homes that are here, okay? Let me see here. There's another one I want to. Okay, yeah, so here's the $8,096,500. That's the levy that's been proposed. It includes $997,000 of bond and interest, and there's the $280,000 that I was talking about of a revenue increase.
So then if we were to say, you know what, we're gonna forego CPI and new growth, we would basically that $280,000, it would just kind of disperse back into everybody who pays property tax.
Yes.
Okay.
So if this is where, we want to have the parameters, one of the things that Steve asked me to calculate for him is what that tax rate would look like. So the tax rate that I'm proposing with this levy is a 0.653, okay? So last year was a 0.6899. That's a decrease of 5.25% of the tax rate. When I show you this this next slide, which is how this would impact our citizens, so I look at the prior year and what the tax bill was on a house that was $350,000. Their EAV is a third of that market value. And then the tax rate from the prior year was 6,899. So the city taxes on a $350,000 house was $749.61. Now, I mentioned to you that the EAV was increased by either 7 or 8%. So what I did was I took that $350,000 house and I added that 8% market rate, okay? And then divided that by the equalized assessed value to give you the new EAV for that house at the tax rate that I'm proposing, which includes the CPI and includes the new property. That new tax bill would be $770. That would be an annual increase to a house that is worth $378,000 of $20.85. Okay, so I just wanted to take us to that point, then to see where we're at.
Okay, I got you. So basically, it's about a $20 savings that if we don't do CPI and new growth.
Right,
Gotcha.
so that's both of it. Now, the rate would change if you were only doing one versus the other.
Mhm.
So, You know, that's kind of what we're looking at. So the 6.53 would be the max
Yeah.
that I would be asking you on that levy to take. So when all these numbers get figured out and we have real numbers, the max would be the 653.
And in
Now-
theory, if we were to move forward with this kind of idea, it might be, because if we pre-authorized you, you might say, hey, guess what? I had to lower it to 6.51 to keep it flat.
Yeah.
Is that the way I'm
Yeah,
understanding
so
it?
if we were to keep it flat, it would actually go 6304.
Okay. But that's with the estimate, because we still don't know what the actual number is.
Right.
So it may have
Right.
to change.
Right.
Okay. And
So
I
we could still
understand
end up being lower than 653 if the numbers come in higher than what those preliminaries were.
Yeah.
But we will never get more than that 653
Yep.
because we set the levy at $8,096,000. So there's kind of two different things there, is we're setting the max levy, but we can also commit that we are not going to take more than that 653. Okay? And those are the parameters we could set unless council decides they want to accept less.
And then, and forgive me if I keep asking the same question, because, I'm not a numbers guy, right? But if this could still go completely wackadoodle for what a resident pays if the township says, boy, everybody's house went up 25%, then this whole $20.85 would, it could be way different. It could be a $500 difference. This is when we see those, I had a $500 hit one year. I'm like, how, right? I thought we lowered the rate.
Right.
But it's not us, it's the assessed value of it. So that could shoot this all to pieces.
But what I looked at, because I always look at all over the city and what is kind of the area of what they're looking at. So the majority of the houses were at an 8% or a 7%. That doesn't mean that somebody didn't go through Lance's department, get a permit to put an addition onto their house to make their house worth
Okay.
$100,000 more. Their tax bill would absolutely go
Yeah.
up because now they've had improvements that they added to their house. So I'm talking about houses in general.
I got it.
right?
It's a general 8%. You
What
could,
about a house that
Yeah.
burns down?
I'm sorry?
What about a house that burns down?
like, does it take it, I guess,
That's removed.
is
They-
it removed?
They would, yes. They would free somebody's taxes on some of those houses, right?
Yeah.
So there are situations like that where a levy could go down. I think the majority of those would have already been built in to their preliminary numbers for me.
Yeah.
What we don't always know is about a tax appeal, right? If there's a tax bill, they still have time to go to do a tax appeal through the court system. But at the end of the day, we're 7.6% of a tax bill, so you could have every other taxing body that will take the max amount that they could take, and somebody's tax bill could still go up, maybe just not the city's portion.
And that's fine. I mean, we're stewards of the city, not everybody else's budget. So, I mean, can't speak to everybody. Clearly, Chief, you got to keep an eye on this guy. Jonathan has an idea of how to lower his taxes, right?
Yeah, but
so-
that-
I was just thinking about the fire department has got a big project spinning up over at in Crest Hill for the training facility. Central Square, or not Central Square, but Lockport Central High School is pushing theirs probably to the max, past the max because of the safety, health and safety improvements that they did. I'm thinking when I receive my tax bill, there's not going to be anybody happy. They're not going to look at Lockport and go, it's done me good. They're going to say, I got to pay another $200.
John,
I would say you're correct. You know, I know this was kind of your passion, Steve, so I don't want to like talk over it, but I guess it's the old, all right, I get it. We're talking, does Lockport step up and do $20 and somebody opens their tax bill and says, son of a gun, oh, I see Lockport didn't raise it. Well, good for them. And that's about as far as it goes. And then they forget about it and nobody cares again, right? Because it was $20. And they're going to be mad about that there's not a steak restaurant tomorrow anyway, right? So it all fade in a second, right? But it doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. I guess the other big question then that we have to all balance with this is what we use the money for, right?
That's where I come in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about $200,000, is that what we're talking?
280,000 is what I built in as an
$280,000.
increase between CPI and new
Okay.
property.
So $280,000 in 2026, If we could call that a surplus, I don't even know. So what we've done in the past is when we have taken in this new monies, we have invested right back into the city. And we invested at that year's value of the dollar. Okay, so, I mean, Steve, I respect what you're asking. I just don't agree with it, okay? Because it's going to cost all of us much more in the value in a 2028, 2029, 2030 dollar, okay? And what we've done in the past, and we've had any type of surplus or whatever, we have, from the police and public works standpoint, we have kicked it into the pension, okay? And so we're paying into the pension in 2019 dollars that we're be responsible for in 2037 anyway, okay? So we get a bigger bang for a buck. But even from a capital improvement $280,000 in revenue out of the budget, then, well, pond remediation comes from, we're going to try to find the money to go ahead and do some remediation to. There's no money, and there may never ever be any money for pond remediation in the future. You know, I have people just 5-6 weeks ago, live a couple of blocks away from me. They don't have any stormwater. Okay, and so an entire block virtually had water in their basements. Okay, and so I've got a way. Well, is it important to go ahead and save somebody maybe $20 on their tax bill? What I believe our obligation is to go ahead and remediate stormwater problems at the earliest possible time, because if we fix something in 2026, it's going to cost less in inflated tax dollars than if we do it in 2029, you know.
So I understand, I really do. And I'm sensitive to it and I listen to it, but I mean, philosophically, you know, when I hear surplus, you know, my first thing is it's not our money. That's my first thing, philosophically. Secondly, I do think $20, it's bigger than $20 because we have done a lot in the city. And I am very impressed with all I've learned since I've been here with everything that's been done, because for years things weren't getting done. This is more of a pause, a thank you, and I disagree a touch, just from the perspective of, you know, I think doing the right thing does mean a lot in saying, hey, thank you, we recognize that there's been a lot of sacrifice, and this is what we're going to do to help for our part. We can't control it. It's like life. You can't control what other people are going to do, and I totally understand, like, things are always going to be more expensive, but we're always going to have projects, no matter what. So if we do every project this year because it's going to be cheaper, something's still going to break next year or the year after, or things are still going to happen. And I look at it more as a marathon, not a sprint, and that's why I would rather do something now, because I feel the timing's good and it's the right thing to do.
Well, it is. You're correct. It is a marathon, because we're in year number 12 of probably a 20-year project. I mean, if all the 100-year-old water mains had been replaced, and if all the curbs and the stormwater drainage had been, and if all the streams had been remediated, and if all the stormwater has been remediated, and then yeah, I'm all for it. But we're not there yet.
But I think we're always going to have that argument or that question. That question's always going to be there. And I say this with all due respect because I think everybody's done a marvelous job. I really do. I just think right now the timing would be good to minimally just keep it flat. And I do think symbolically it does mean something. That's just where I'm at personally.
Well, I think that, and we've tried this in the past, I think the real issue is assessments. Yeah, well, okay.
We can't control that though.
Unfortunately, it falls on deaf ears. The assessor, I just literally just believe they just take a dart and say, oh, it hit 8%, well, I'll do that, okay? Because I remember Steve said sometime in the past, we're all being taxed on unrealized capital gains, okay? And those of us that have owned our houses for well over 30 years and we paid off our mortgage, well, okay, our capital gain's gonna be good. But if you just buy a $800,000 house out in Silo Bend, you're never going to have the capital gain in percentage that I have, okay? But it doesn't mean that we're not obligated to take care of the town because, you know, I don't know, how much have we spent, Brian, in the last, are we over $200 million in capital improvements in the last 10 years?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be there, we probably are gonna spend that in the next 5 years with the wastewater treatment plant
Yeah,
and everything.
so, you know, there was a time when the city didn't have revenue, and it was just 15 years ago, okay? And B, we had councils that says well, we're not gonna do any capital improvements. So they didn't do capital improvements in 1995 dollars. We had to do capital improvements in 2020 dollars.
And I understand the argument. I guess where I'm at is we're just disagreeing on the speed in which everything has to get done. And I do think, again, I just think it makes a difference to take a stand and say, you know what, it's the people we represent, it's their money. The budget's still pretty whole. It's not as if we're saying, okay, now we have to make a bunch of substantive cuts. I think it's a statement of we recognize that everybody's getting squeezed, and you know, if not us, who leads the charge to do the right thing? That's where I am, and I understand what you're saying, and I don't want to belabor it.
No, that's fine, and I get it, and you know what, I trust me, man, I struggle with it all the time too, and we're never going to be done with capital.
Never,
It's like painting the San Francisco Bridge. As soon as you get done, you got to start again. So it never ends. So it's not like, we're gonna catch up. You never really do. But eventually, there's going to be a point in time when there's no more room for growth, like new growth capture, because we'll be maxed out one day, and then we'll just have to maintain with whatever we bring in. And yeah, the CPI always makes me crazy because it's like, well, we have to raise our prices because everybody else is. It's like, well, yeah, but maybe if we all just stop doing it, we're raising ours because we know that guy's raising his, and it's like, or can we take the lead and not do it? I hear what you're saying, Steve, and I get it, and I think but it's a great discussion, and I'm glad we had it. It also is very helpful to understand, and I know most of the council understands it. Sometimes I like a reminder, but how, assessed values and how, new growth works and how you have to capture it. And so I think those are good reminders as well. I guess the best thing to do is this. I would just say this, if there's just do a straw poll so we kind of have an understanding. If we think just kind of leave the budget as is, that's one thing we can do, or we can say if we want to look at, maybe either dropping this CPI or dropping the new growth or giving Lisa some leeway on how that happens when the assessment comes, we can if there's an appetite to do something like that, those are kind of our two choices, right? So I think the best thing to do is just kind of get a feel for everybody. It's like, and it's a balance between capital, it's a balance between like feeling we're doing the right thing. So I guess, where's everybody at?
Well,
And if you want to say a few more things, please. I'm not trying to cut everybody off,
The
so.
only thing I will say is that I feel like the city has done a very good job in the last 11 years of reducing by 5% every year, and I feel like that, I mean, everything is going up wherever we go. Like, it's just, but, so I think we have done our due diligence of saying, trying to reduce our tax rate. And for 11 years straight, I think that's commendable.
Yeah, and I said this a few weeks ago, like, when we're setting 3-year agreements and they're raising the price on us 10% every year, it's like, what's the benefit of doing a 3-year agreement with you guys? How many of our vendors are charging whatever they can additionally in money? It's like, if we get to a point where we're just burning through surplus just to make the bills that we need to make, we can't do those projects. And I think myself, I've got curbs, and I've got storm sewers, and I've got a pond in the back that probably needs some work on it. But there's people on the west side of town that their stormwater's still going in the ditch. And we're saying, well, you can wait another year. It's no big deal. Your basement might flood again. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. I don't think that's the right way to approach it either. I mean, we've got a CIP that we all voted that, like, here's 10 years of work that we need to get done. So my thought would be, if we're going to cut, $280,000 off of what we're collecting, we need to find $280,000 of stuff we're not going to spend money on. Period. And until we come in with good ideas, and maybe that's the job that I can start sitting down next to the budget and say, what doesn't matter? But based on the list that came out there, like, there's important stuff to pay for with the property tax. I don't want to give up a police officer. I don't want to take up many sacrifices off the list that came out there. So, personally, I mean, the extra $20, I don't want to pay. But I know that it's going for good stuff. I know that the people are great stewards of the money that we take in this. And we ask citizens to trust us. So we're not, I don't see the finance and us taking flights to Seattle and Vegas and all over the United States to do conferences and stuff. So it's hard for me to say, I don't think you're right. I think that we should keep it all the way level. And then I worry about, the next year when all these vendors do charge more, we've got to go back and ask for, have a special meeting to push us past that threshold that we can do in a meeting and have to open it up. So it's measured. We've been doing it for 11 years. That's not a reason to keep doing it. But I try to give some trust to Lisa because I know she's uber conservative, probably to fall, and put some trust in the system. So I do like the idea. I know when I open my tax bill, the city of Lockport asking for $20 more isn't what I'm going to do. It probably won't be you guys either, but it'll be way up. And if I fear that. So it sounds like when we levy to the amount that is proposed, we can pull back on that if we need to. But if we lose out on that money or don't collect that, it's kind of gone forever. And so you start in a hole next year if you want to do the same thing you did this year, unless you make it to the budget.
JR, do you have some thoughts?
No, I'm just very comfortable with the way we've been doing it. And I'm say stay the course.
Okay, all right. Christina, what's your?
Yes, I do. And it's just, this is just. And then a few months later, I find out, wow, I'm being cut from my insurance company because my basement flooded. I mean, then it's really costing me
Karen, we spoke with these. Joanne, you have any thoughts on that?
My thought is, we've always been very conscious about how much to raise and to keep it as low as possible, because we do know that it affects everyone. Now, we all live in Lockport, so it does affect us as well as it does all the other residents. We have been very conscious in the past of keeping it as low as possible, but still have the funds available when it's needed. I think we've always been very fair. Yes, it would be great to be able to, you know, do what, you know, you're talking about. That's very, very, yes, it is. It's very commendable. And we always want to be able to save money. Unfortunately, sometimes it's a little tough because we're the only ones doing it. If everyone shared the expense, everyone else is taking what they need to operate. If we, and I know it's just for 1 year, and I get it. I don't, you know, 280,000 is what we would lose for that 1 year, and then go back to 2026 and possibly regain it. But everything is going to cost more. That's just, you know, the way life is. I'd rather take the hit, to tell you the truth, so that we know that we have the funds available. But, you know, whatever everyone, you know, decides at the end, you know, it's what we consciously feel is the right thing to do.
Joanne, you brought up something that I wanted to add. You know, the city could take up to 5% without having a public hearing, okay? We're home rule. We could take as much as we wanted. So if we wanted an extra $1 million, we could take $1 million, right? But we have to have a public hearing and have the public come in. The dollar amount we would raise if we went up to that 5% is $457,000. So I don't want you guys thinking that we're taking the max, because we're not. We're not taking the max. We're not even taking the max up to a public hearing.
Right.
So I do think that, you know, what we're proposing is what we have been doing for the years that we've been doing this CIP, you know, to help to promote taking pressure off of some of the areas so that we had funds to be able to do this. So I do think that we are doing our part. We're not looking at 100%. We're not looking at the 5%. We're looking at cost of living, and we're looking at collecting on the new property. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you if you had other thoughts, but I wanted to say that I do think that, as you guys have mentioned, we have been good stewards, and I don't want the public to think that you guys have not been good stewards with the money, because we are not taking the max. We're taking enough to cover the increases that we're seeing in
That was
expenses.
my point, that we have always been very conscious about how high of a levy, you know, and taxing bodies that we're going to, you know, be paying, having everyone pay for. I just think we have been very fair, and I do want, you know, the residents to know it would be great not to have any charge at all, but unfortunately, life isn't like that. You know, we do need to be prepared for repairs.
And I'll just finalize by, you know, I want everybody to be very clear with the fact that I have a very high level of respect for everything that's been done here. Totally don't want that to get lost. Lisa's been incredibly gracious to put up with all of my requests for, you know, for different scenarios, so she's been wonderful. Nothing to do with questioning, you know, any of the decisions from the past. This is strictly obviously my only perspective on, you know, the fact that when you know, if we have the ability to do something, it's not going to impact the budget in a significant way, we should do it. But again, obviously nobody is feeling that way, so that's fine. That's fine.
But I don't, it may seem like, God, we talked a really long time about $20, right? But it's not that. It is a bigger picture in it, I'm very grateful that you spoke about this, because I get it. It's like, yes, everything's going up because everybody keeps raising their CPI, right? So it's like, and yes, I get it. If we don't, it's not gonna. Is the world gonna change? You know, is everyone gonna say, "Gosh, Lockport didn't do a CPI"? I guess we won't now. No, but you know, for my part, I get it, and you know, I've always wanted to see a zero change, honestly. And I would support that, but I still, the wild card of the assessed value just throws it all out of kilter anyway. That's the struggle I've always had with whatever we're doing when we lower rates. But thank you, Steve. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, and thank you for being willing to make some calls and stuff. All right, friends. So we'll leave the levy as is, and we'll put it on. It has to be voted on. It's not a consent item, so we'll put it on for an action. And thank you, everyone, for your thoughtfulness on this. Okay, next is we're looking for talk about Resolution 25094, which is new lockers. What do you got, Chief?
Thanks, Mayor. This is actually a part of the 2026 budget. Unfortunately, I learned within the last week that the vendor would be increasing the price if the order is not placed by 12/8, and since the budget will not be before the council until December 3rd, puts us in a bit of a situation. I didn't want to have to spend an additional $7,000 if we waited until after that point. So this is a part of that budget. What I would like to do is, if the budget passes on the December 3rd, then I would have this right after that for City Council for approval. So we could place that order. The order wouldn't actually arrive and be installed until 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks later. So it would be a part of the 2026 install and time frame, but it's more just so we don't have to pay the additional $7,000.
Yeah. So we gotta buy this before the city they live in raises their CPI. Yeah.
Yes, it was. I was thinking that as we were talking about this.
Okay. Is everybody good with this? Any questions? You good with consent? Okay. All right. Next is CD1 for Lockport Code. What do you got, Lance?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. This is related to Ordinance 25019. The state of Illinois, based on Public Act 103-0510, requires all municipalities to update their building codes published in the current year, which would be the latest is 2024, or the preceding 9 calendar years. We are currently on the 2015 International Building Code series, which requires us to, at a minimum, update them to the 2018 codes, or the 2021, or the 2024 codes. So on the screen or in your packet, you see there are the 3 ICC 2018, 2021, and 2024. We don't control 3 different codes. The state mandates that we accept the plumbing code, the Illinois Plumbing Code, the Illinois Energy Efficient Building Code, and the Illinois Accessibility Code. Those are items that we don't have a choice as to what do we accept. So, in summary, what we are required to do is to update our building codes, and this goes for the residential code, the existing building code, the regular building code, the fire code, are all pieces of the ICC series. We've gone through, my building official, Brian Pola, sitting in the center there. Andy is on the right-hand side of Brian's left-hand side. He's with the Fire District, Lockport Township Fire District, and Dave Bricker, our newly christened chief for Homer Township Fire District, is also here. All 3 of these gentlemen put in a lot of sweat equity into evaluating all the codes, reviewing them all. You saw a marked up version of the proposed code in your packet. A lot of extensive review that goes into this. What we did in order to prepare you all is I included in my memo kind of a more exhaustive list of changes that are coming with this code, but I'll summarize some of the major points. And I guess probably a big picture point is one thing that we want to make sure that we do is we give confidence to our developers, our contractors, and our residents. So what we hesitate as staff to recommend to you is, hey, let's just go the minimum and do the 2018 code. Well, in 2 years, we'll have to update it to the next one. And as any contractor or builder knows, every time something changes, they have to relearn all the stuff that just changed, because Romeoville went to 2024, Lamont's in 2021, the other one's in 2018. So we want to try and set up so that Lockport has the most consistent, longest term application of our codes, because that gives everybody confidence, it gives everybody assurance, it gives them an understanding that we are here to be a more consistent approach with how we evaluate projects, with what we require in projects, so there aren't a lot of surprises when somebody comes to us with a request. So in this evaluation, what I did was I compared the 2021 codes with the 2024 codes. Our recommendation to all of you is that we adopt the 2024 series of codes. The biggest things that are the differences between 2021 and 2024 is it now recognizes data centers as a real use, whereas in 2021 codes, because those are really prepared in 2020 and 2019, data centers weren't really as big of a thing as they are today. And so there are components related to fire, related to construction, all those different types of things that the 2024 code now includes to help us, when and if we ever get a data center, be able to apply appropriate building codes, as opposed to interpret this one and try and apply it to a data center. An example of this is our 2015 building codes had very little recognition of a climate-controlled multi-story self-storage building. So for those of you that are on the council, one of the issues that came up was the code because it doesn't recognize that kind of a use, we were requiring bathrooms on every floor of a multi-story self-storage building. Well, there's nobody living on each floor. There's nobody on each floor at all unless you're there to go get your stuff, and you can easily use the bathrooms in the office or in the waiting area if you need to use the restroom. So what we had to do in order to accommodate that is, for that project, we adopted the 2021 codes, which did include those things. And what we don't want to do, we don't want to do adopting building codes per project. Well, data centers here, so we'll adopt the 2024s for the data centers, and we're going to do the 2021s for the self-storage buildings. We're going to do this over here. We want to try and make sure that we are recognizing things that are in front of us that we know might be coming. And as we have all talked about in public, data centers are something that we have investigated. And I don't want the city to be in a position where we don't have the regulations that we need to regulate it appropriately. The other consideration that is new, specifically from a fire suppression system, is the realities of lithium-ion batteries. The storage of them, the testing of them, the research of them, repairs for them, and what that means for fire suppression. As an example, in our community, the Tesla warehouse that we have that is right over by Panduit currently holds a lot of lithium-ion batteries in it. That is something that wasn't covered by our 2015 codes, but we were able to work with them to get to an appropriate fire suppression system to accommodate that use. But if they wanted to thumb our noses at us, they could have, because they would say, you don't require any fire suppression system, so even if this building explodes, technically it wouldn't be our fault because we can only enforce the codes that we've adopted, and so the liability certainly rests on them. But this gives us the opportunity to, on behalf of the community, be able to protect things in a better way now that all the research, the testing, and all of that as to the reality of lithium-ion batteries and what the storage of those mean, to be able to apply an appropriate code. So that is another big use section of the change. And then the last one, it's a little bit smaller, but photovoltaic structures, there's an image in the lower left-hand corner of the screen or on the slide if you're looking at the paper version. Those are basically large-scale photovoltaics that are put over parking lots, they're put over in landscape areas, they're put in a variety of those different types of places those were never recognized as a thing. And so the 2024 codes do allow for those to be recognized as a thing. Not saying that we have something pending or something that we're looking at, but it is becoming more viable, and I could absolutely see that if we had an office building that was sustainably minded, they would want to do something like that in their parking lots to cover the employee parking. So those are the three related to uses. From a fire standpoint, the three biggest things are better understanding and better enforcement of building connections and the penetrations. So weaknesses in the 2021 code were where columns go between floors, and the ability for fire to be able to move between floors quicker. Wall joints, so basically how those walls come together. This 2024 code allows for a better fire rated system there. And then floor assembly, so, flooring, subfloor, all the different components of the flooring assembly, how fire travels between floors and through those floor assemblies to try and make different fire ratings across the way. The other thing is smoke alarms in existing and new structures. Andy would be happy to educate everybody on what that means, but in essence, the image there is an image of what a smoke alarm would be. What we are asking to include in this is that we can now start requiring smoke alarms in existing buildings. Currently, we don't have that ability, but for fire safety, the district would like us to include that component so that they can ask. And these aren't the big, gigantic fire alarm systems that are commercially rated. These are specifically for smoke alarms. Is that inaccurate? You want to go up to the podium with the mic? Sorry, Dave. That way it's on camera.
So on the existing part, it would address the commercial buildings that do not currently have any fire suppression or fire alarm systems at all. So there are some buildings out there that have been around for a long time. So what we proposed was that put in a 5-year plan. Tell them now, hey, here's a letter. You have to do this within 5 years. It gives them time to save money. Again, we're not going after sprinklers. We get that's not the fight to fight. But as far as fire alarm systems, it's a basic, need in most buildings nowadays to have a fire alarm system. Early notification would be great. So that's what we're proposing on the commercial side. This doesn't affect residential. Residential, that's in a separate residential code. So we don't really look at that in this particular area. But on commercial buildings, we are. So I can tell you that we have done this in other communities. We've offered them 5 years. Yes, I'm going to field many phone calls from people complaining. I did this years ago in another district, and it took about 10 years by the time they all got done, but they did. And, initially, yes, people complain, but again, once we educate them, that's a big part of what we do is we educate people. So we just kind of explain everything to them. And after we explain it to them, and then they're like, okay, and then they do it. It's one of those things that as long as they have the ability to know ahead of time and to save it, we're not going to walk into a business tomorrow and say, you have to put in this system. We're going to just notify them, educate them, give them time. And then, yes, in the end of the 5 years, if somebody's trying, but they're still struggling, but if they're trying and they're making progress towards it, we'll give them an extension. So that's, we can do that. So.
And just so I understand, what we're talking about, this is the 2020, 4 code or whatever. What you guys are talking about, and the reason you're here, is because you already made some amendments, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so the amendment. So the 2024, yes, that'd be the model code. We're just amending certain sections.
So you guys are here selling, hey man, we put these in. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, the amendment.
Yeah, understood. I just wanted to.
We adopt the.
Because when you first said it, I'm like, were you guys down in Washington rewriting this? That's why I didn't understand. So these are your amendments.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so we adopt, as the city of Lockport, we adopt the codes because the district works in multiple communities. So the district can't adopt that and apply it to a community. So we adopt it, and Brian and Andy and Dave all work together when we go to review plans, do inspections, those types of things.
So for those normal smoke alarms, are those like wired or are those just the battery?
So for commercial ones, these would be wired ones. They do offer wireless systems now. We've only got one, I think. There's only one in town right now currently that decided to put the wireless system in. But most of them are wired.
Okay.
And then the last piece up there is fire escape inspections. I'm sure many of you have looked at the backs of some of our downtown buildings and wondered how they're still standing, or whether or not some remediation needs to occur. This allows us to be able to inspect those in a more official process and be able to try and help building owner where necessary to reinforce things or rebuild it or whatever will come out of that. From a material standpoint, these 5 things are the primary these are the primary new materials that are identified as the difference between the 2021 and the 2024. Insulated vinyl and metal panels. You can see a picture of the vinyl one in the upper right-hand corner. Glass fiber reinforced concrete. That is basically, a lot of places use rebar as their concrete. There's a mix that you can use. It's been around for a little while, but there's finally regulations related to how it can be applied and what the best practice is. It basically puts glass fibers into the concrete as a replacement for rebar or iron rebar. It works in some applications, doesn't work in all applications. Adhered masonry mortar types, that image in the lower right-hand corner, we talk a lot about thin brick. We talk a lot about those types of things. 2024 code applies best practices for the best types of mortar to use with those products. So now that they've been around for a while and enough experimenting and testing has been done, that we now have a lot more information to apply the best mortar to those locations so that they last the longest. And metal building systems, that image in the middle on the right, these have taken on a life of their own. They're not the old tin shed buildings that people would construct on site. They now come fully with joists. The whole structure is all designed, but there were not a lot of codes that reflected that. This isn't a huge issue for us because we don't really allow just metal buildings. We do with some of the structural components for a larger building. A lot of ours are tilt-up concrete for the distribution buildings. A lot of ours are built in place concrete masonry block, brick face. A lot of those kinds of things. They're not the metal structure like what you see on the screen. Tornado-based storm shelters. This is something the state of Illinois is actually requiring that everybody have a requirement for. This is it's coming from the disaster that happened in southern Illinois with the distribution building, that all the panels collapsed into the building because of a tornado, and everybody died, blah, blah, blah. State of Illinois is now requiring us to have this in our code to require that a distribution building or something like that has a tornado shelter within it, because these are typically just huge spaces, and the offices are typically just cubicles in the huge space. So this allows for that safety factor to be installed. Yes.
And is that the same for vinyl siding? Like if somebody wants to reside their house, like in town, that they're not required to use vinyl that's insulated?
No, this is just simply saying that insulated vinyl is a new material with new properties, and here's how you should look at it, should apply it. Whether it's the fastening method, whether it's the insulation underneath it, things like that. And then some other things to know. There are requirements for mechanical connections between roof and wall structures. This is to accommodate for wind uplift. So in a tornado or in a heavy storm, you get uplift pressures on your soffits, and that helps to push up the roof structure. This having those metal fasteners between the two pieces helps to keep that stabilized and structurally sound. The funny joke, as I was talking with Steve last week, was that they're oftentimes called hurricane straps, and how do we reflect that in Illinois? Could we call them tornado straps, or could we call them something else? We probably could, but the common name is hurricane straps. And then the other piece to this, it actually is something that can apply to us, and it's actually a relief over past building codes, is that in historic buildings, previous codes would require you to upgrade a structural system if there was a degradation or something happened to it to a new structural code standard, meaning you'd need to replace a lot of the former wood beams or something like that with today's structural requirements. This code allows you to replace it with something that may be more historic, obviously still functioning, but regulate the occupancy based on the load that is posted on the door. So that sign where it says maximum occupancy, that allows you to use the sign as the regulating enforcement as opposed to requiring the entire building to meet a maximum load if you had to do repairs. And this was a question that I had gotten on this as well. Can we amend anything? As you probably saw in a number of the different components, we are amending things. One of the things that came out of the 2015 discussion when we adopted those was the exclusion of 5,000 square foot and below buildings for requiring sprinkler systems. There are still some exclusions to that, where if the use is a wood fabricating shop, it obviously has dust and lots of things that can cause fire that just based on the use requires sprinklers. But in general, that was amended out and deleted out of the code. We can amend those things, and there are a number of things in there that are amended. Some of the things we brought forward from the 2015, some of the things just aren't applicable locally to us and how things are constructed around us. Again, because this is a national code, so we try and reflect local conditions in some of these things. And the other question that I got is, can we amend something after we adopt this code? Or is this we're sending the stones down from Mount Sinai and you can't change it afterwards? Yes. If we are finding that we continue to run up against a stone wall on something, we can bring that to you and say that this has become a problem, an issue that we think needs to be remedied. We'd like to present that to you and have it either amended or deleted out of the code entirely. So yes, both of those options exist for your consideration after we would adopt these. Okay. And again, what can't we amend? We can't amend the plumbing code, we can't amend the energy efficient building code, and we can't amend the accessibility code. And I'll take questions, and Brian and Andy and Dave are here if you have any technical questions that I can't answer. Well, we are waiting until after this meeting to do anything, because obviously if you don't adopt it, that changes the message. But once it is adopted, we'll do a social media campaign. We're going to do mass emails out to our contractors. Both my inspector and my building official and our fire friends are going to be spreading the word with all the contractors that they come into contact with. We tell all of our developers. We've even started to tell them that, hey, as you think forward 6 months, back in August, we may be adopting the 2024 code. So start to think about those things as you're thinking about the design of your building, if you don't think you're going to be submitting anything before the end of the year, before this would become applicable. We do the best that we can, and we'll include it in our water bill as a flyer as well, and that goes out to everybody both digitally as well as also in paper.
Okay, so I mean, I guess the only reason that I think a municipality probably wouldn't just adopt the latest code is because there's something horribly onerous hidden deep inside, right? So I guess you went over a couple light things. Is there anything in there that's from now on you got to use cement from
Saskatchewan?
Right, Saskatchewan cement. I mean, is there anything that's super onerous? That is, and again, it doesn't matter because 9 years from now, you're going to have to adopt it anyway, at a minimum. So I get it. At best, you could do is push it off. But, you know, that I know builders and developers like, yeah, I could use that 9 years to build stuff without Saskatchewan cement and save me millions, right? And I can actually get a project done. So is there anything in your assessment that there's horribly onerous in this?
You want to go up to the podium, Brian?
There's a number of communities that do not want to adopt the 2024 code for the main specific reason. When they wrote the code book, they changed the format of the code book for us to read it. And they don't want to bother learning how to read it yet. I'm honest. They've changed sections all over the place, but it used to be a 2-column format. Now it's 1 page across, and a lot of them don't want to try to learn that yet. I can read a book, I think.
You'll see in the markup that we provided, a lot of the numbering is different.
Yeah.
And so when Brian had to start going through the code about 4 months ago, in this code it's on page 230. On this one it's on page 675. On this one it's, so they changed the numbering to make it, I don't think they intentionally tried to make it more challenging. Maybe they did. For what we have seen in answer to your question, there is nothing that is onerous in there. This summary that I provided you as a memo is based on 2 books that we get when we get the new code that outlines changes between 2021 to 2024. And it's about 300 pages long or so. I've gone through every page of it, just myself, to make sure that I'm prepared for this. I don't see anything in here. I would say from our builder's standpoint, the more onerous thing that has come out is the Illinois Energy Efficiency Code. That is
the code for the electric vehicles.
Yeah, that is the one that basically required a project like Continental to run conduit for electric charging stations to all 500 of their parking spaces with no wiring, just to prep it in case in the future there would be a requirement everybody would have electric cars. And in that case, Continental, what they did, that was going to be a $2 million hit to their project. And it came out January 1 of, it was going to be enforced January 1 of the year they were starting construction. So in order to still fall under the old energy efficiency code from the state, they ramped up and submitted all their permits. So when you see on Lisa's monthly statement where it talks about the spring submitted all their building permits at one time, that's what that was. So in order to not be regulated like that, they submitted all 15 buildings for building permits at the same time.
Yeah. Does that mean Serenity Now, their apartments, are they going to have to put all this conduit in?
Yes.
Yeah, anything new coming in, but that's a state law. We don't have any say in that.
Yeah. And, you know, we've talked with legislators about it, and but it's something that they have adopted, and they feel strongly about it. So all the developers are reacting to it. The other component that came out of the energy efficiency code was a much higher value for insulation, wall insulation, than what was previously required. And so folks like MI Homes have gone through a number of different studies to try and find alternative methods to still meet the intent of that code via a different route, because the baseline route was to change all your wall studs to 2x6s instead of 2x4s so that you can get the quantity of insulation in. As you might imagine, that increased the cost of a home fairly significantly when you have to do that on a sizable structure. So there are ways, and we do performance standards. We allow for alternative ways of meeting the code when we can. But the energy efficiency code, I would say, is probably has been the most challenging. This one, I think amongst all 3 of us, there are no like game changers, something like that is in this code. Okay. And again, if we run up against something that, you know, was not perceived, not expected, not anything, we can come back and look to amend that.
Any other questions on this? Are you guys good with adopting 2024 then? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Lance. Always thorough. Appreciate it. Okay.
I'm not sure if I took that as a compliment.
That was not sarcastic. All right, CD2. What else you got?
So this is a resolution 25090 approving a site improvement grant for the property located at 900 North State Street. This is what we have commonly called the Maryknoll Shopping Center. They are looking to rename it to be Archer Crossings. So the project that you have in front of you, at least for the grant, is for a new sign. You can see what it's proposed to look like on your screen or on your slide. They plan to do both landscaping as well as the sign itself. They are requesting $10,000, which is the maximum available for the site improvement grant. Let's see. Is that the right one? Yes, it is. So it will consist of the new monument sign, the surrounding landscaping. The total shopping center that this applies to is 56,600 square feet. So it does fall into our business center sign category, which allows for a taller sign with the multiple tenants on it to be able to reflect all of them. In this particular center, it's the one that goes all the way from where Lupine used to be, all the way south to where Vitrec is today. So it's really the entire frontage. They do have plans to do maybe one more in another location, but that's to be determined still. Like I said before, we allow for up to $10,000 for something like this, and the applicant is only performing the site work. They're eligible for just the $10,000 based on $8,600 for the construction costs and $1,400 for the architectural fees that they are requesting based on the lowest quotes that were provided in your packet. To date, the council has approved $79,754 of $100,000 that we have budgeted for 2025. And since they're eligible for the full $10,000, you will have approved $89,750, which is 90% of our budget for the year if you approve this grant. Be happy to take any questions. We request for this resolution to be placed on City Council for action or consent.
Any questions you got?
Just to confirm, this is only up to where Lupine used to be.
Yeah, that is the ownership of that portion of the center. There is a single owner from the fence, Lupine, all the way south to Maryknoll. So.
Are there really 8 tenants and more than 8 tenants for that spot?
So. There is, there's another existing one, I'm not exactly sure what it is. Vitrec is in the back. They look at a potential daycare in where Lupine used to be. So yeah, I mean, there could actually probably be up to 10 or 12 in there just because of the depth of the property and then also the number of slots that they have in that frontage.
How do you think they handle it? And this is kind of an out there question, but let's say one tenant comes in and says, I'll take the whole space. We're going to have this ridiculous sign with one guy's name on the top and all these blanks down below it? Or how does that work?
But it'd be just like Lockport Square. Bentonhausen came in and said, I want 3 of the panels. Yeah. And so they have 3 of the panels.
So you could, this is, I guess, so somebody could you could have a long, tall sign for your tent. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
C-A-N-D-Y.
Okay. Is everybody good with this for consent?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And then lastly, what do you got?
My last one tonight is Resolution 25093. This is actually for the same property owner. They are looking to do Phase 2 of their sprinkler fire suppression system. Phase 1 that received a $20,000 grant previously last year for this property brought in the water line. It created the fire control room and took the main south to the properties on the south end. They are looking to now extend that to the north end. They have a potential tenant that requires a sprinkler system. that they are looking to try and install. We handle these grants on a per pin. They have 4 pins on their property. The logic is that we have allowed for one of the pins, and so they are requesting, because it covers all 3 pins to take the main up to that north end, they're requesting the funds for the rest of the 3 pins. It's still only 50% of what the total cost is. Those contractor quotes were in your packet. We have not approved a single, I realize we have not approved a single fire sprinkler grant yet this year, so this would be the first one that we have in the docket. So the total grant request is $46,247.50.
Any questions on it? Good with consent? All
Just
right.
a quick question. Do we have a budgeted amount that we set aside for expected sprinkler grant applications?
I'll be honest, I never know expected. It changes from year to year, and it depends on somebody's time frame. This one got
Like
pushed.
Lisa has a better answer. How much did you put in the budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, when I give you that last section, I identify what our budgeted amount is and how much you have approved of that budgeted amount on an annual basis.
Looking at it right now.
And it never has come close to that, has it?
A couple years ago, we did go significantly more. This was during the time frame when the I forget what they called it, but basically where Real Nova used to be. That came through along with where Crema Coffee is. That came through with the old Stagecoach building. That came through at the same time. So there were a number of them, and I think we went all the way up to like 216,000 on one of our facade grant years. I think it was 2023, somewhere in there.
Would you consider then putting the smoke alarm, the wired smoke alarm systems in there?
So that's the separate grant that we have.
Oh,
So we
there's
have,
another grant for
yeah,
that?
so we have a code compliance grant, which is fire alarms and sprinklers.
Uh-huh.
And then we have the facade grant, which is
Oh, that
facade
would be
grant
the
and
facade
site
grant?
improvement grants.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one you approved previously comes under the facade and site improvement grant program. The one that is under consideration now is under the fire sprinkler and alarm program.
Okay, thank you. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yep,
Okay.
no worries.
All right, friendos. Anybody else got anything for new business?
New business. Lance, could you, since we're up here on North 100 or 900 North State, could you get us an update on the Villanova, whatever parking lot? I drove in there the other day and almost lost my car.
Yes.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, what is the update on that?
So we actually just met with all 3 owners last week, Friday, I think, Friday morning, something like that, to talk over. They do have an engineer engaged in the parking lot design. They do plan on fully redoing the entire parking lot, making it a consolidated parking lot. They're going to enter into a inter-business agreement for maintenance costs and care and all the things that come with that. So they are planning on constructing that because they won't be able to get it done before the plants close in November in the spring. We did ask them to patch the potholes to make sure that those were taken care of just to get us through the winter. But the construction of that will likely occur probably in April, May of next year once the plants are open and fully operational.
All right. Sorry, I still have that executive session, but I'll make it brief. Promise it's just an update. So what's the wording here, Mike, for going into executive session so we don't have to come back out here again?
This is for the attention, we are going to executive session to consider the exemption 2C5 purchase or lease of real property. There will be no action taken after the executive session. We will just adjourn immediately from the executive session. Therefore, we will not come back into open session.
Okay. Very good. Thank you much.